Okay. All right. Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the men whom I've learned this truth from, the apostles, the bishops and elders of Great Millstone. And I would like to say shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Shaquat from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal, back with another lesson. And this lesson that I will be getting into today is going to be centered around Hebrews 4 and verse 12. Right? Pretty much just bringing clarity to what a two-edged sword means. Right? Because in my mind, at a particular point in the beginning stages of this truth, I used to think that a two-edged sword was a sword that had two blades on either side. All right, let me see if I could pull up a picture. Right, so I used to think in my mind in the earlier stages of the truth that a two-edged sword, or that when the scriptures referred to a two-edged sword, it was referring to this, a sword that had a blade on either side and a handle in the middle. But that's not the case, right? Obviously, I was taught that that's not the case, and once again, I learned from the elders and apostles and bishops and the men of Great Millstone, right? And I'm doing this lesson because you don't know what brothers out there that might be watching your lesson or might run across your lesson that's new to the truth, but this could bring them clarity as well, right? That's what the teachings are for. The teachings are for the edifying and the building up of the saints of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, so let me jump straight into it and read the precepts. Hebrews 4 and verse 12. It says, for the word of the Most High is quick. And obviously we know that the word of the Most High is the scriptures, right? The Old Testament, the New Testament, as well as the Apocrypha. That's what makes up the words of the Most High. The Bible, the scriptures. Those are the words of the Most High. It's quick. This precept that says, it is the spirit that quickeneth. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. I believe that's what Yahweh Shai said, if I'm not mistaken. But that's what the Lord said. It is the spirit that quickeneth. Right, the Holy Spirit. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. That's what Yahweh Shai said. So the words of the scriptures, they quicken somebody. They make you alive, right? They bring you to life, and that's what the scriptures do when you are when it's presented to you the right way, when it's presented to you by the right person, by the right teacher, by the right spirit, and the right spirit is in you, right? You're going to be brought to life. That's how powerful the scriptures are, right? That's what the next thing it says, right? For the word of the Most High is quick and powerful, right? So the words are so powerful that they bring you to life, right? And what is an example of that? The Israelites waking up. And first and foremost, the words of the Most High are only for the Israelites, just to clarify that. The words of the Most High are only for the Israelites. What proves that is the law, statutes, and commandments were given to one nation of people. And that one nation of people is the Israelites, right? In the book of Psalms, 100 and something, it says, Salakia, it doesn't come to mind right now, but the Lord said, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any other nation. So the law, statutes, and commandments were given to the nation of Israel, and the Lord did not give it to any other nation. Going to show you that the Lord is not dealing with these other nations. So the words that are contained in the scriptures are for the Israelites. So only an Israelite could be quickened and brought to life. And that's what we're seeing now, you know, prophecy being fulfilled. Revelation, the 11th chapter, Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, those dry bones coming to life, those dead bodies coming to life, and that's through the words of the Most High, right? Through these words. In the book of Job, it says, I think it's Job or Psalms, but to paraphrase it roughly, it says, um, he sent his word and healed them, right? Brought them back to life, in other words, from a dead state, right? So that's how powerful the words of the Most High are. They change things. The words change things, man. They, they alter reality, for lack of better words. But that's the words of the Most High. It could take a person in a dead state of mind and make them alive. It's so heavy that, the words, you know, things are being spoken into existence, man. Prophecy. That's what prophesying is. But you can only do that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? And that power, once again, is found in the words of Yahweh Bashim Shai and the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai, right? It says, for the word of the Most High is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the hearts, right? So let's go back. It says, and sharper than any two-edged sword. So once again, when it says sharper than any two-edged swords, the word of the Most High is sharper than any two-edged sword. It does not mean this. It does not mean a sword that has a wooden handle in the middle and a blade on one end and a blade on the other. No, right? It means right here. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. This is exactly what it means, right? But matter of fact, because I asked ChatGPT to give me a definition, right? The question I asked ChatGPT is, what makes a two-edged sword so deadly to wield, right? And it said a two-edged sword is deadly not just because it's sharp on both sides, but because of how that design changes the physics, technique, and effect of every strike. Here's a clear breakdown. It says it cuts in any direction, right? So when you take a look at these two swords, on the left you have a double-edged sword or a two-edged sword, right? And then on the right you have a single-edged sword, right? So the difference is that a double-edged sword you have on both sides. It's a single sword, right? A wooden handle at the top and a blade at the bottom. But the double-edged sword or the two-edged sword has both sides of the sword sharpened. Both sides of the sword are sharp. But a single-edged sword, you have an unsharpened end of the blade, and then you have a sharpened uh, uh, part of the blade, right? So that's the difference. So when the scriptures refer to a two-edged sword or a double-edged sword, this is what it's referring to: a sword that's sharpened on both sides of the blade, right? So let's keep going in Chat GPT. It says a double-edged sword or a two-edged sword, it cuts in any direction. A single-edged sword, which is this one, can only cut cleanly on one side, right? So this will be this side, right? So one strike, one chop, one slice, right? A double-edged sword lets the wielder cut on the downswing and the upswing, right? So a double-edged sword, you could slice somebody or something. You could slice, but then you could also slice up, right? You could also cut up. You don't just cut one end. You could cut down, and as you're coming out or pulling out the blade, you're still cutting, because both ends are sharp. Versus a single-edged sword, you can't do that because it's gonna be hard. Since this side is not sharpened, it's gonna be what? It's gonna be hard. You're gonna be stuck, right? Because there's only one sharpened end or one sharpened side. You know, um, I'm gonna jump the gun kind of, but a two-edged sword. Um, let's say you stab somebody with a two-edged sword, or you slice down, you could twist the sword, and that'll, since both uh sides of the blade are sharpened, that's causing a lot of damage, right? When you twist the sword, right? And obviously, it takes a lot more strength to be able to do all that, right? It says change direction mid strike without repositioning. So that's what you could do with the double edged or two edged sword. It says attack from tighter angles, slash while pulling back or pushing forward. This makes the weapon faster, less predictable, and harder to defend against. Thrusting becomes much more lethal. Two edges meet at a sharper point. That means deeper penetration on the thrust, less resistance entering the body, more uh, internal damage when the blade twists or withdraws. I'm gonna jump to point 4. It says a two-edged sword requires more focus and discipline to wield. A double-edged blade is dangerous to your own body if you're careless. Harder to reset your offhand on the spine. No safe edge for close grip maneuvers. Higher risk when praying or fighting in close quarters. Masters trained extensively so that they didn't accidentally cut themselves during fast combinations. All right, so when wielding a two-edged sword, you have to be skilled, right? But guess what? The scriptures say that the word of the Most High is sharper than this sword that's pretty much difficult to handle and use. Going to show you that only a particular amount of men, particular kind of men, are fit to wield the scriptures, right? Because for some, you might try to wield the scriptures, and you might stumble at it. You might fall. You might hurt yourself trying to deal or wield the scriptures. But there's some men that it's a perfect sword for. It's the perfect weapon for, right? Um, yeah. So I'm pretty much gonna end it off there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. I want to say call Halayim La Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Rakakudash in closing. And once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. And also shalom, once again, to the elect.